Gadgets that time left behind. What quietly vanished from our living rooms that changed how we listened, watched, and shared. And what did we lose when it did? Tonight, we're dusting all four once-beloved gadgets from the 60s and 70s. They were clunky, loud, and absolutely unforgettable. One ruled the highway. One promised around sound before its time. One turned family nights into mini premieres. And one looked like a spaceship on your shelf. Stick around. Later in this video, you'll hear the twist that ties them all together. The 8-track tape player was a king of in-car music from the mid-1960s to the 1970s, a time when radio faded in and out on long drives, and people wanted their own soundtrack. Built around a chunky plastic cartridge, the system used a continuous loop of a quarter-inch magnetic tape divided into 4 programs, hence 8-track. 2 stereo channels per program. You slid the cartridge into the slot, a pinch roller inside the cart engaged the capstan in the player, and the music started instantly. No rewinding, no fast-forward guesswork, just play. The format took off after inventor Bill Lear pushed Stereo 8 for cars, and Ford made 8 tracks a factory option for 1966 models. That decision mattered. Car cabins were noisy and bumpy, and the 8-track simple, rugged mechanism coped better than delicate reel-to-reel decks. Record labels got on board, releasing major albums on 8-track, and retailers stacked bright cartridges near the checkout, where impulse buys happened. Despite the promise, the design had quirks. Because the tape ran in one endless loop, a metal foil splice told the player to switch programs. Sometimes that switch landed in the middle of the song, producing a famous ka-chunk and a few seconds of silence. The tight bends inside the cartridge could cause wow and flutter, and if the felt pad wore down, sound quality suffered. Heat in parked cars didn't help. Tapes warped, lubricants dried out, and the dreaded tape tangle. Eating a tape was common. Home 8-track decks existed, but the format's true home was a dashboard. That strength became a weakness when a better all-around option appeared, the compact cassette. Introduced by Philips in the 1960s and improved in the 1970s with higher grade tape and Dolby noise reduction, cassettes were smaller, cheaper, and, crucially, recordable. People could make mixtapes from LPs or the radio, and later, auto-reverse transports reduced the need to flip cassettes. Car makers followed the market, phasing cassette players as standard equipment by the early 1980s. Once cassettes ruled the road, 8 tracks declined rapidly. Record labels cut back on new releases. Repair parts dried up, and the remaining users faced a shrinking ecosystem. By the time compact discs arrived in the mid to late 1980s with cleaner sound and instant track access, the 8-track felt like yesterday's news. Today, it survives mostly as a retro curiosity, shells of brightly colored cartridges, the satisfying clunk of program change, and memories of cross-country trips with a soundtrack looped on and on. Quadraphonic home stereos were the 1970s dream of surround sound before surround sound was easy. The promise was simple. For speakers around the room, so music felt like you were sitting in the middle of the band. The problem was everything else. There wasn't one clean standard. There were at least 3, SQ and QS, both matrix systems, and CD for a discrete system. SQ and QS tried to hide 4 channels inside 2 grooves on a normal LP. Then a decoder pulled the extra channels back out. CD for use a special high-frequency carrier to hold the rear channels, which meant you needed a special cartridge and stylus just to read the record. That gear wasn't cheap. CD for work best with a fine-tipped Shibata stylus and careful setup. If the alignment was off or the record was worn, the rear channels got noisy or vanished. Matrix systems were easier on the hardware but weaker on separation, so the surround effect often felt vague. On top of that, you needed a 4-channel receiver or amplifier, plus 2 extra speakers that matched the front pair. Many living rooms were not happy about more boxes and wires. Software didn't help. Record labels released some quad mixes, but not enough to make the format a must-have. Albums came in different quad flavors, and a disc cut for one system didn't always decode well on another. Stores had stocked several versions of the same title, which confused buyers and clogged shelves. Radio dabbled in quad, and a few reel-to-reel tapes sounded great, but the average family stuck with simple stereo that worked with everything. Even when set up right, quad could be fussy. Records wore down those high-frequency carriers. Decoders drifted. Speaker placement mattered a lot, and most rooms aren't perfect squares. Meanwhile, two-channel stereo kept getting better and cheaper, and by the late 70s the quad wave had crested and rolled back. Still, quad wasn't a dead end. It planted ideas. Engineers learned how to place sounds around a listener and how to market multi-channel audio. Years later, digital surround formats, Dolby Surround, Dolby Digital 5.1, DTS, solved the hardware and standard issues that killed quad. Many classic quad mixes were dusted off for DVD audio, SACD, and Blu-ray. So while the original 4-channel receivers and LPs are mostly collector items today, the core goal, immersive sound at home, finally came true with simpler gear and one clear standard. Kodak's carousel slide projector turned living rooms and classrooms into mini theaters from the 1960s to the 1990s. Its signature circular tray, holding 80 or 140 cardboard-mounted 35mm slides, wasn't just a design quirk. The round shape let the machine cycle continuously without jamming at a start or end point, so you could load your trip photos in order, dim the lights, and click through with that famous Ka-Chunk advance. For families, it meant a shared ritual. Settle into the sofa, pull down the screen, or a white wall did fine, and relive summer vacations one bright frame at a time. For schools and businesses, the carousel was a reliable workhorse for lectures and sales pitches. What made the carousel beloved also made it a bit fussy. Slides had to be shot on 35mm film, processed, mounted, labeled, and arranged in the tray. A stray grain of dust showed up like a boulder when projected 6 feet wide. Bulbs ran hot and sometimes burned out mid-show. Savvy users kept a spare lamp and a cotton glove handy. The mechanism was sturdy, but a bent slide mount or a misseated tray could cause a jam, freezing the narrative until someone fixed it, usually to patient groans from the audience. Yet the payoff was real. Compared to early TV sets, a carousel threw huge, sharp images with accurate color, especially from Kodachrome. Photographers loved the control. Exposure, composition, and sequencing turn a family outing into a story. The remote's focus and advanced buttons gave the presenter a small taste of stagecraft. Professional versions added dissolve units and dual projectors for smooth crossfades. High drama for a PDA meeting. The decline came in stages. First, Photolab shrank as one-hour prints and videotape stole attention. Then, digital cameras eliminated film entirely. Laptops, PowerPoint, and later, flat-screen TVs made it effortless to show hundreds of images without trays, bulbs, or darkrooms. By the early 2000s, the economics no longer favored slide projection. Kodak discontinued carousel projectors in 2004, and the once ubiquitous round trays moved to thrift stores and basements. Today, the carousel survives as a nostalgic icon. Its silhouette instantly recognizable, its clack and fan hum tied to a slower kind of storytelling. A few artists and archivists still use them for exhibitions, valuing the tactile rhythm and the luminous look of real film. But for everyday picture sharing, the ritual gave way to a click, a swipe, and a screen in your pocket. Laserdisc was the first big optical video format. Debuting in the late 1970s with shiny, 12-inch discs that looked like giant CDs. A Laserdisc player read the picture with a laser instead of a needle, so there was no tape to stretch or wear out. Compared to VHS, the image was cleaner and colors were steadier. You could jump to a scene by number, pause on a frame, and skip around without the slow or fast forward. Movie fans love that control. Many early special editions with letterboxing commentaries and behind-the-scenes extras appeared first on Laserdisc, long before DVDs made those features common. But the format had some headaches. The discs were big and fragile, and most movies came on 2 sides. That meant a flip halfway through, or a player with an auto-flip mechanism. Longer films could need multiple discs, so you'd swap mid-movie more than once. Most titles used analog video, which was better than VHS, but still showed noise and flicker on large screens. Audio started analog, too. Later releases added digital sound, and some even carried Dolby Digital through a special AC3RF output or DTS. Those sounded great, but needed extra gear that raised the total cost. Price was the other problem. Players were expensive, and each disc often cost much more than a VHS tape. You couldn't record on Laserdisc at home either. So families still kept a VCR for time-shifting TV shows. Stores stocked fewer titles than VHS, and many towns didn't rent Laserdiscs at all. In North America, the format stayed a niche, even though it did better in Japan, and among serious film collectors. By the late 1990s, DVD arrived with the same core benefits: laser reading, random access bonus features, but in a small, cheap, durable package. DVDs also added crisp digital video and widespread rental support. Once DVDs hit big box stores and bundled into computers and game consoles, Laserdisc couldn't compete. Production slowed, then stopped, and the big silver platters slipped from living rooms to collector shelves. Today, Laserdisc's legacy is clear. It taught studios how to present movies for fans, not just casual viewers. Chapter stops, commentaries, making of docs. Those ideas were proven there. The format lost a market, but it won a place in home video history.